You are not Busoni, and you are not Monte Cristo. O heavens, you are then some concealed, implacable and mortal enemy. I must have wronged you some way at Marseille. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Not St. Matthew's words, but those of Monsieur de Villefort in his tormented moment of realization when Edmond Dantes drops his elaborate disguises. The secret is out. Alexandre Dumas' 1844 swashbuckler, The Count of Monte Cristo, is a novel that captivated me as a child and to which I unashamedly return most summers. For one of literature's most indisputably readable and significantly, I think, rereadable plot lines, it is famously poorly written. It was composed for the papers in serial form, and it's full of stock emotions, bloated syntax, and clumsy repetition. For example, the almost unvaried response to surprise in the novel, and there are quite a few surprises in it, involves the subject collapsing melodramatically and ashen-faced into the nearest Louis XVIII armchair. Some might suggest it's like living at All Saints Margaret Street. Secrecy and concealment is a subject and a device used extensively and compellingly across literature. But we might be surprised and confused to find it present in the Gospels, source of the good news that each one of us is called openly and publicly to proclaim. A gospel that calls us, in St. Paul's words, to be the children of light, the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Indeed, we are called as Christians beyond secrecy and shadow toward the clarity of theosis. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. Well might we be at first puzzled then by those gospel words. Then he charged his disciples that they should tell no man that he was Jesus the Christ. Especially so, given that Jesus has just provided the blueprint for that most confident and public expression of Jesus Christ, the Catholic Church. There is nothing secretive about St. Peter's Square. The so-called messianic secret is something St. Matthew seems to inherit from St. Mark's Gospel, in which it's a more dominant theme. It's been puzzled over for centuries. Is it the Greek mind's misunderstanding of something in the original Aramaic? Is it a device used by the evangelists to explain an embarrassment about Jesus' identity not being more widely recognized at the time? Or is it indeed Jesus himself strategizing the communication of his identity? I'm afraid that sounds rather like Diocese of London speak. Apologies for that. But important, secrecy in the employ of truth, and indeed fulfilling Isaiah's great prophecy, as Matthew is keen to tell us. He shall not cry nor lift up, nor cause his voice to be heard in the street. A bruised reed he shall not break, and the smoking flax shall he not quench. He shall bring forth judgment unto truth. The secrecy we find then in the gospel, we must admit, is a deliberate secrecy that has as its goal the truth. This is not the elaborate concealment of a damaged soul bent on revenge that we see in the Count of Monte Cristo, but rather a device calling us into the mysteries of our faith, compelling us to wrestle with those central questions. Who is Jesus Christ? What is the church? It's also a call in our personal lives to quiet integrity. As Christians, we rightly are called to make an open and very confident witness to Jesus Christ. We are mandated to declare together this morning the stately, confident words of the Nicene Creed. We are encouraged to make a public commitment to the teachings of Holy Church and to show forth to the world in words and in bold actions the fruits of those lives well lived in relationship with the Lord. And yet, alongside this, always alongside this, we are called to quiet integrity. Elsewhere in his Gospel, St. Matthew recalls Jesus' words, "But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly." The tub-thumping, collective, desperate mauvaise foi of so much Christianity should not blind us to the central importance the Church has always given to conscience and to the earnest and deliberate cultivation of an informed individual conscience. We're blessed that perhaps the 19th century's greatest theologian was an Englishman and wrote so importantly on the matter of conscience. Dust off your John Henry Newman this week. We might begin to wonder whether the gospel's secrecy is surprising at all. We who belong both in this world and to a kingdom beyond it, a kingdom revealed to us even now in glimpses of mystery, as it is this morning in the Mass. We're called as Christians always to interpret the visible world through the invisible. And our inner lives are of utmost importance to the health and integrity of our public profession of faith. There are situations where a fake it till you make it mentality makes sense, but the cultivation of an outward display that is at odds with whatever is going on inside is a recipe for bad faith and all too often for personal disaster. And it's no place from which to be present truly to others. But lo, the psalm goes, "Thou requirest truth in the inward parts, and shalt make me understand wisdom secretly." Today's gospel pairs that great prophecy of the visible church, manifest today in Peter's successors, spoken in the creed to which we are about publicly to recommit ourselves, alongside an enduring and compelling call to quietness, discretion, reserve, forbearance, to integrity, to lives that are deliberate and quiet enough truly to listen out for that inner voice of love, that still small voice of calm, to the cultivation of an honest relationship with God, through which we might come to an honest relationship with ourselves and with one another. St. Matthew's Gospel closes with that great commission, public, loud, open. "Go ye, therefore, and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you." If we are to be bold, if we are to take up that great commission, if we are to be truly ambassadors of our gospel, then we need to start the work in the secret places of our hearts.